everybody this morning. The hour of 9:45 having arrived, I'd like to call the Kane County Board meeting of July 9th, 2019 to order. I'd like to ask the clerk to call the roll.
Allen? Guerrero? Here. Davis?
Here.
Raz? Hanson? Here. Hernandez? Here. Hoshite? Here. Iqbal? Here. Kenyon? Here. Caius? Here. Kobe? Here. Leonard? Here. Lewis? Here. Martin? Here. Molina? Sanchez? Here. Shefflo? Here. Silva? Here. Starrett? Sturgis? Here. Thomas? Here. Weber? Here. Wegman? Here. Winicki? Here.
Okay, have a quorum. Please turn off cell phones to avoid distractions over the next hour and a half. Drew Fraz is going to join us as soon as he can. He's worked very hard on the Markland Development Project with John Martin and Mark Van Kerkhoff and our staff. He's at a groundbreaking this morning, and he'll join us as soon as he can. I'm going to defer, because of that, I'm going to defer the Chairman Short program till farther on in the agenda from where it is right now. I'd like to ask Pam Ely, Programming Coordinator at the Juvenile Justice Center, to come to the microphone to lead us in the pledge. Please stand for the pledge and the prayer.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for our prayer. I'd like to ask Bishop Christina Rake from Church of the Nativity in St. Charles to come to the microphone and lead us in prayer.
If you all assume an attitude of prayer with me, please. Good and gracious God, kind and loving one, we, your people, gather today to serve you by serving others, but we are human and always in need of help and guidance. Therefore, Holy One, we ask that you open our ears that we may not only hear but listen, open our eyes that we may see the true nature of every problem. Open our minds to wisdom and understanding that we may seek the greatest good rather than our own desires. Open our hearts that we may grow in our passion to serve those who have placed their trust in us. And dear God, because we will not always agree with one another, help our words this day to be gracious and tender, for tomorrow we may have to eat them. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Bishop Rake. Next on the agenda is approval of the minutes. May I have a second, or a motion and a second to approve the minutes from June 11th? So moved by Mr. Weber, second by Dr. Iqbal. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Those opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Okay, speakers this morning, just a note, mention it at each one of these meetings at the beginning. As a matter of protocol, individuals who have registered to speak prior to 8:30 this morning are allowed 5 minutes to address the board on agenda items. Registered speaker for non-agenda items are allowed 3 minutes with total public comment time limited to 30 minutes. We ask that speakers refrain from statements, remarks, or conduct that might become disruptive to the conduct of the county board or which might cause disturbance. I believe that we have two individuals this morning who have signed up. First is Stacy Plasek on a non-agenda item. So would you please come to the microphone and state and spell your name and address for the record. Welcome.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Stacy Blazak, S-T-A-C-Y-B-L-A-S-Z-A-K. And you asked one other thing, the address?
Yes, please.
21 South Farnsworth in Aurora, Kane County.
Thank you.
And my agenda item is regarding dead trees. I'm aware that in the county, everyone's allowed to cut their own overhang or have licensed professional tree cutters cut the overhang. That's not the issue. There's a very distinct difference. Next to me are 2 dead trees that are to the sky. One kind of infected the other one. I've had 3 licensed certified arborists come out and look at the trees. They're not my trees. The property owner is very stubborn. The least of the concerns, but it is a concern, is the appearance of the property. If someone was going to sell their property, these would definitely be a matter and issue. I've been cleaning up the trees for 2 years. They haven't had leaves on them for 2 years. They're clearly dead. And all the bark has come off the trees. They are now starting to lean. They are a threat to life safety, and that is the matter. The matter is life safety. So I understand that there might be a reluctance to understand this issue, but if somebody was to see it as, you know, there are many steps to handling it. First, there could be some kind of notes about, to the home property owner about the matter that the tree is diseased and give them a chance to remedy it. If they're just stubborn, I think it should be a tax lien and they should be mandated to have it cut down and pay that back, or have a foreclosure, I guess. It's not going to be everyone coming to the county. There's very few dead trees. Most people are willing to maintain their property in good faith or just out of their own willingness. And some people aren't, and that should be managed and not wait till somebody's clobbered by a dead tree. That's about it.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Blasek. Next on the agenda, the next speaker is Tim Gallagher on a non-agenda item. So, Mr. Gallagher, if you'd come forward and spell your name for us and the address for the record.
My name is Tim Gallagher. It's G-A-L-L-A-G-H-E-R. And my address is 2380 Sands, Susie Drive, Aurora, Illinois. That puts me in District 4, I believe. So that's who I am. Why am I here? I am here because I would like to, I was trying to think of a saying, trying to think of something to remember, and I think it's like, if I could just ask you all to advocate to allocate, right? That's going to be, I'm going to say that at the end. I live at 2380 Sans Souci is, the border of my backyard is County Road 83, Kane County Road 83, commonly known as Orchard Road. And if you, I don't know if any of you have driven on Orchard Road, but let me back up. All of you have an idea of what health is and what our health means to us, diet, exercise, and so on. One of the things that affects our health is noise, and the difference between noise and sound. Sound is vibration that we can pick up with our ears. Noise is something that can interfere with our daily life, our conversations, things like that. So, Orchard Road, Orchard Road has, according to the Illinois State Department of Transportation website, has 35, between, the area that I'm speaking about is between Jericho Road and 88. So that's about 2.5 miles. And Illinois Department of Transportation website says that there's an average of 35,000 cars a day on that road. That's the most traveled road in the county. I don't want to like state that as a fact, but I was looking at the 2018 traffic counts, and that's more traffic than west of Orchard Road on 88 towards DeKalb. But that didn't include the truck counts, because on the website, if you click on truck counts, it's unavailable. And if any of you have ever been on Orchard Road from Jericho to 88, it's not a traffic, or truck and freight traffic is not an anomaly. It is constant. It is due to the freight companies that are in Montgomery mainly. And Montgomery put, for example, Old Dominion, Montgomery granted them a building, and everybody else around in Naperville and Aurora did not. But anyway, there's Old Dominion, there's General Mills, YRC, Home Depot Warehouse, Lake Superior Beverage, Oakley Liquid Transport, Heinz Lumber Supply, and several gravel companies that use that road. So, according to the Illinois Department of Transportation as well, they put out a pamphlet that says that one semi-truck is as loud as 28 or 50.
Oh, and I'm so sorry. Mr. Gallagher.
My time up?
You are at 3 minutes.
Okay.
Yes.
So there's conversations within the state and local governments regarding replacing the fence that's along that road. That was my point. I was trying to, I didn't know how much time I had exactly. I knew it was 3 to 5. But if any of you have the opportunity to advocate for those funds to replace that wall, please, please do that. Thank you.
And I think you wanted to mention advocate for to allocate.
To allocate for the funds to replace that wall with something similar to other walls that
Thank you, Mr.
you've seen before. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, next on the agenda are presentations and discussion. Happily, this morning, we have recognition of 20 years of service Kane County employees. So I'm so happy for all the people who are here, even the people who aren't here with us. But today we're recognizing Kane County employees with 20 years of service. We will have a reception that follows immediately after this meeting on the lower level auditorium. This morning, our Human Resources Executive Director, Sylvia Wetzel, is here and will help distribute the 20-year certificate packets as I read off each individual's name. So please join me in thanking all of our hardworking employees. Hold your applause to the end, and then we'll take care of everybody together if that's okay. So, are these good? You need a, where's the microphone for you? Is there a microphone, Blair, for good? Blair has one over here, and this way it's mobile.
Wetzel, and it's my pleasure to join our Kane County Board Chairman, Chris Lawson, and the Kane County Board to recognize and congratulate our Kane County employees with 20 years of service. Their dedication and commitment is appreciated, and each of them has reached an important milestone with Kane County government. I know that everyone joins us in saying thank you for the many years of service and dedication. I will call a few names off at a time. If you could please come up to be congratulated by our county chairman and receive your 20-year certificate and a token of appreciation from our senior HR generalist, Mary Ann. Heather Cameron, Joanne Conway, Nancy Schlim, Lauren Richardson. If you could come up. Renee Buckman, Rebecca Grout, Sarah Hoff, Janice Hill, Jonathan Close, Kurt LeBeau, Matthew Meyer. Robert Shai, Nirda Diaz, Alexandra Zhang, Raymond Johnson, Joshua Volkany. Scott Berger, Maria Chapa, Maureen Ola, Ivor Spallis, Pamela Bradley, includes the employees for their 20-year anniversary.
Next, we have a recognition for Anthony Franklin. I'd like to invite Mr. Anthony Franklin from the IT department to come forward to be recognized for his 15 years of service and his retirement, unfortunately, or fortunately, matter of perspective. I'd like to ask our IT department executive director, Roger Fonstock, and Barb Garza to come forward to recognize Anthony for his good work.
Good morning, board members, Chair. Thank you for allowing us to present this to Anthony Franklin, Senior. Anthony has worked with us in the IT department for just over 15 years. In a lot of sentiment, Anthony's been through a lot of work with us in changes that have been made in the department and also through the Sheriff's Office and Public Safety. Anthony didn't start in the IT department, he started with the Sheriff's Office, when the Sheriff's Office was under actually Sheriff Ken Ranty at the time. And in the process of changing the Sheriff's Office over to the county IT, we also moved the county Sheriff's jail and the Sheriff's office. We moved the 911s there 2 times, 3 times, something like that. And in the course of we also implemented the entire records management, computer dispatch system, jail management. So a lot of different things that Tony's been a part of is going to be this. Now I'd like to read the recognition for Anthony. So, recognizing service of Kane County employee Anthony Franklin Sr. on his retirement. Whereas Anthony Franklin started working for Kane County on January 7th, 2004, and has recently retired from his position as process manager with the Kane County Information Technologies Department after 15 years of service. And whereas Tony has contributed to numerous projects throughout the years with both the Sheriff's Office and the IT department, his ability to communicate and work well with many people has been a great asset. In addition, he's shown leadership in completing and working on a wide variety of projects, most notably in the public safety area. Tony has always been willing to assist where needed, and his enthusiasm and positive attitude will be greatly missed. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Kane County Board recognizes the contributions of Anthony Franklin Sr. as a Kane County employee during the past 15 years and desires to extend the county's wishes for an enjoyable and productive retirement. Congratulations, Anthony.
Thank you, Anthony. Thank you, Roger and Barb. Okay, next on our agenda, I'm going to ask Dr. Iqbal for an update on the COUNT project. And Dr. Iqbal, if you'd use the microphone, and about how long do you think that the program will last? Dr. Iqbal, can you give us an estimate of the time that the presentation takes? 3 to 5 minutes, okay. Thank you, Doctor.
Yeah, the purpose of my presentation is to just provide a progress report for what has happened since the last time we met here and this board approved a committee. Yeah, in this progress report, I will have 3 or 4 items. First of all, data update, what has happened in the last 30 days, and define our mission, and challenges that we face in the Census 2020, and what we want to do about it. Last time I provide data on Census 2010, and that data has been updated somewhat by the Census Bureau. One thing I heard is from Ms. Lewis that she wants not only the data but also the source, where it is coming from. So I will be providing you with the source. This is coming from the Census Bureau and also available through the State Attorney's Office, SOS, Secretary of State Office. As I mentioned last time, Kane County in 2010 had only participation rate of 81%, and we counted 515,000 individuals, and 97 or 98,000 were not counted. So we are officially considering the county population of 515, but we are told by the Census Bureau that in effect, the total population of this county is 613. Now this is a publication that they have. And because of the undercounting, the revenue loss per year for this county is $176 million per year. It doesn't come to us, but it spreads over all the communities. And that's how much we are losing. So every 1% undercounting, the loss is $9 million for this county. And this is, again, the source is Census Bureau. Looking ahead for 2020, the Census Bureau has projected that the funding loss would be more than $9 million per year. For every 1%, it would be $10 million. And therefore, the complete count matters, and they tell us that it's not easy to count everyone. So there are some hard to count areas. You will be hearing this term, hard to count, in publications and everywhere, and it's abbreviated as HTC, HTC communities. Last time I gave you a list of the communities that were published for 2010, but those communities have been updated. And I will provide you the list. On the top is the racial and ethnic communities, generally people of color, like myself, non-English speaking persons, undocumented people, low-income persons, homeless, disabled persons, rural population, highly mobile persons like students or military, and high-density developers like dormitory living, apartment living, and the public housing. So those are the areas. And one thing you would find surprising is the young children are not counted. The parents don't take the time to count, provide data about them. Generally, under 5 are simply omitted. Now, during the last meeting, this board formed a complete count committee, which we call local committee. And since then, I have gone ahead and listed it with the Illinois Central Committee, which is being run by the Secretary of State Office. And then they forwarded it over to the Census Bureau, so we are listed with the Census Bureau, so we are on the email list and so forth. We have aligned trainers from the Census Bureau who are willing to come and train the folks here. And they are willing to do that, and the question is who should attend the training, and that's what I'm working on. and I need your input. The grant money is needed. Of course, the committee cannot run without any money. At this point, we don't have any. Our mission, what would we do if we have the money? Our mission is that we have to support and provide service to the 30 communities that we have. And these 30 communities have 5 cities and 25 villages. And our population distribution is not uniform. 75% of the population lives in 25% of the area, and the 25% of the population live in the 75% of the area. This is not a very current observation, but Phil Boss, who was the development department head, once gave those numbers. So these communities look to us as a leader in the county. And we need to provide support to them. Some of them don't need support, but a lot of them would. So this committee has a mission to have a blanket committee providing support to those communities who need it. And we want to provide a platform for training volunteers and elected officials to help during the census data taking. It will provide knowledge transfer. For example, there are cities who are very good. They have done it before, like Aurora, Elgin. They have their committee. They're working. They're very zealous about it, and I think they don't need our help. But we can learn from them and provide the information over to the community who need them. In 2018, the state appropriated $27 million. This is roughly based on $2 per participant average. And also there was some philanthropy, non-profit organization provided some money for this purpose as well. Elgin and Aurora, both of them got that money, both the state money and the other philanthropic dollars. That's a good news. They are working. They have committees. And they are active. But we were not there during 2018. The committee was not formed. In 2019, there is some state help coming. Governor has allocated $29 million fund for the complete county project. The money has not been released. Illinois Department of Human Services would solicit RFP in a few weeks, and we plan to apply for it. And once the process goes ahead, we will hopefully get some money in October. And that would be timely because the census would start in 2020. Most of it would happen in April. As the committee activities, we started late, but we are not behind. We didn't get the 2018 money, but we can get 2019. We are waiting for that RFP to come out, and once it's there, we will apply for it. In terms of media, our activities are quite good, I would say, at this point. Kane County Connect, Ron has put the census logo on the newsletter that he sends, and I thank him for this. And Kane Kendall, KDOT newsletter, Tom Rickard also has agreed to put that logo, so which will help also. City of Aurora had a meeting, and Ms. Thomas from our board presented the board, and she attended the meeting. In Elton, I attended their meetings, and also they had a 4th of July parade, and I walked in that parade for the Census Bureau. The training sessions for August, hopefully by that time we will have participants, 30 to 40, who would attend and make it worthwhile. Our goal is collaboration and partnership with all the communities, all 30 of them, whosoever wants to join us and need help. The challenges, federal budget did not give any more money to 2020 census than it did to 2010, so the dollars are frozen at that level. And the dollars are not being spent to the door-to-door activities, but the internet and the phone. These are the new technologies that have been introduced, which is good. Let's see how they work out. Internet, what you will do is you will get a card from the Census Bureau, and it will have a code. And you go to your internet and put that code and enter your data. Or you can call a number and somebody on the other line hopefully will accept the data. So there will be less field folks who will take the data door to door, and there will be new scams. Citizenship question is in the news, which has been deterring people from answering those questions. And the negative side is that it will cut the participation maybe 6-7%. The positive side is that it is being in the news so much that everyone knows about the census. It's in the radio, TV, so hopefully there will be some participation and more activities, more volunteer here to help. Basically, that's all I have. I provided you with the data update. If somebody needs more source information, I'll provide it. I describe what we are doing, what our mission is, and what the challenges are, and what we want to do about it, and hopefully next month I'll provide another update.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Dr. Iqbal. Okay, I'm going to delay or defer the Chairman Short program until after the consent agenda and when Drew Frost, Chairman Transportation, is present. Next on the agenda, zoning petitions. I'd like to ask Development Committee Chairman John Martin to rise, discuss, and take us through the appropriate procedures to approve the zoning petitions on today's agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have 3 matters before us today. The first being petition number 4503 in Plato Township, which I move and request a second. Ms. Winicki seconds. This is a petition filed by the John Naperman Trust. The property is located on 12 North 988 Route 20 in Plato Township. There's no regional planning commission jurisdiction. The zoning change sought is from F district to F1 district, rural residential. The zoning board approved it and the development committee approved it. Are there any questions or comments? Hearing none, would the clerk please call the vote?
Allen? Guerrero? Yes. Davis?
Yes.
Hanson?
Yes.
Hernandez? Yes. Hoshite?
Yes.
Iqbal?
Yes.
Kenyon?
Yes.
Caius?
Yes.
Kopi?
Yes.
Lewis?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Leonard, thank you. Lewis? Yes. Sorry about that. Martin?
Yes.
Molina? Yes. Sanchez?
Yes.
Shefflo?
Yes.
Silva? Yes. Sterrett? Yes. Sturgis?
Yes.
Thomas? Yes. Weber?
Yes.
Wegman?
Yes.
Winicki?
Yes.
Passes.
Motion carries. Second matter is petition 4504 in Plato Township. It's the petitioner is the John Lieberman Trust. The property is located at 12 North 860 Route 20 in Plato Township, and the zoning change sought is from F District Farming to F1 District Residential. I move its adoption and request a second. Ms. Winicki seconds. I should add that there were no objectors, no Regional Planning Commission jurisdiction, and the zoning board approved the same. Are there any questions or comments? Hearing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Allen? Guerrero? Yes. Davis?
Yes.
Hanson? Yes. Hernandez? Yes. O'Shea?
Yes.
Iqbal?
Yes.
Kenyon?
Yes.
Caius?
Yes.
Copey? Yes. Leonard? Yes. Lewis? Yes. Martin?
Yes.
Molina? Yes. Sanchez?
Yes.
Shefflo?
Yes.
Silva? Yes. Sterrett?
Yes.
Surges?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Weber?
Yes.
Wegman? Yes. Winicki? Yes. That passes.
Motion carries. Third matter is petition 4505, in Virgil Township, petitioner of 64 Storage LLC. The property is located at 49 West 950 Route 64 in that township. The proposed use is a special use of the B3 district for a storage business, which is consistent with the 2040 plan. There were no objectors. The Regional Plan Commission had no jurisdiction. The zoning board approved this matter with the stipulation that best management practices be met before permitting. The Development Committee also voted to approve with the additional stipulation that the property be limited to one access point and that the right-of-way dedication is requested by the Kane County. The right-of-way dedication be made as requested by the Kane County Division of Transportation. Regular motion, second. Are there any comments or questions? Hearing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Who seconded that motion? Oh, Surges, okay. Perfect.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Martin.
Well, I moved it.
All right. Ellen? Guerrero? Yes. Davis?
Yes.
Hanson?
Yes.
Hernandez? Yes. O'Shea?
Yes.
Iqbal?
Yes.
Kenyon?
Yes.
Caius?
Yes.
Copey?
Yes.
Leonard?
Yes.
Lewis? Yes. Martin?
Yes.
Molina? Sanchez?
Yes.
Shefflo?
Yes.
Silva? Sterrett? Surges? Thomas? Weber?
Yes.
Wegman? Winicki? Passes.
Motion carries. The last petition is number 4507. It's located at 50 West 014 Plain Road, Littleton Township. Petitioner is Irene Radke. The zoning change sought is from F District Farming to F1 District Rural Residential. There were no objectors. There were no additional recommendations from any party. The zoning board approved, and the Development Committee also approved. I move adoption of this resolution. And request a second. Mr. Weber seconds. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Allen? Guerrero? Yes. Davis?
Yes.
Hanson?
Yes.
Hernandez? Yes. O'Shea? Yes. Iqbal?
Yes.
Kenyon?
Yes.
Caius?
Yes.
Copey?
Yes.
Leonard?
Yes.
Lewis? Yes. Martin?
Yes.
Molina? Sanchez?
Yes.
Shefflo?
Yes.
Silva? Yes. Sterrett? Yes. Surges?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Weber?
Yes.
Wegman? Yes. Winicki? Yes. It passes.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Martin. Now, the consent agenda. Would anyone like to remove an item from the consent agenda? Mr. Caius.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to, just for information, remove item 243 under the Kane County Liquor Control Commission.
243. Okay. Any others? If not, may I have a motion and a second? Oh, excuse me. I'm so sorry, Miss Allen. Miss Allen, would you rise, please?
Yes.
Microphone.
Human Services 90-241 Department.
241. Any others? If not, may I have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda with the exceptions of 19-241 and 19-243? So moved by Mr. Surgis, second by Mr. Caius. The clerk call the roll.
Allen? Guerrero? Davis?
Yes.
Hanson? Hernandez? Hoshite? Iqbal? Kenyon? Caius? Copey? Leonard? Lewis? Martin? Molina? Sanchez? Shefflo? Silva? Sterrett? Surgis? Thomas? Weber? Wegman? Winicki? That passes.
Okay, motion passes. May I have a motion and a second to discuss and move number 19-241? So moved by Ms. Allen, second by Mr. Shefflo. Ms. Allen, would you rise, please?
I just wanted to mention on this that, yes, elected people are included among staff as far as these parking regulations go. Just to say that what we're trying to do is to make it a little easier for the people that we serve and the people who come here to get things accomplished to have an easier time getting into the building. And what this does, if you have questions, you know, we're glad to clarify. If you think of the sidewalk in front of the building, then the 14 spaces in the row and about 2 handicapped and 5 more spaces in the other row, those would be the ones designated for our guests who come to do business with the county. And the rest of the space in front of the building is a free-for-all, as it always has been. It's about 20 spaces that we're starting out here offering to our to the people who need to use us. And then the other yellow spots are about 15 spaces around the recorders and the assessors building. Again, just lots of incidents of people with walkers trying to make it up those stairs from the bottom parking lot is the impetus here to just try and make it a little easier for people to get access to our buildings. Now, what we haven't solved, of course, is that this campus is not exactly laid out to be user-friendly. If you are a disabled veteran or a senior citizen in using Building A for your taxes or for your what the Veterans Commission can give you for aid, and then you need to go over and talk to somebody in the recorder's office or the assessor's office about your freeze or your paperwork, there is no easy way to get from point A to point B, short of a helicopter, I think. But anyway, the idea here is in those yellow spaces, if you have a handicapped placard, or if you have a doctor's note, somebody who's pregnant, somebody who broke a leg skiing, somebody who stumbled over something, Ms. Sterrett, just a note to Human Resources, and then you can park absolutely wherever you want while you're trying to get better. And then the last thing I wanted to say is that this is a work in progress. I've asked employees in this building and Building C to please let us know how it works, if they're having problems, if they have suggestions. There are also some opportunities to add some parking around the campus, and we'll work on that. Mr. Sparks is planning on getting a restriping program going, so it'll be reasonably clear. We're thinking of using colors. If you're just coming to visit this campus and you aren't thinking about it, you know that you want to go to Building A, you'll see a bunch of empty spaces with white stripes, and you'll go there and you'll park. The rest of the striping might be in a brown or a green or something, and that would be for all the rest of us. So figure it's a work in progress, and we'll just try and make it a little bit easier for our constituency. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Ms. Allen. Any questions or comments, further discussion? If not, clerk, call the roll.
Ellen? Barrero?
Yes.
Davist?
Yes.
Hanson?
Yes.
Hernandez?
Yes.
Hoshite?
Yes.
Iqbal?
Yes.
Kenyon?
Yes.
Caius?
Yes.
Copey? Leonard?
Yes.
Lewis?
Yes.
Martin?
Yes.
Molina? Sanchez?
Yes.
Shefflo?
Yes.
Silva?
Yes.
Starrett?
Yes.
Surges?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Weber?
Yes.
Wegman?
Yes.
Wonicky?
Yes.
Passes.
Okay, motion passes. Thank you, Ms. Allen. May I have a motion and a second to discuss and pass number 19-243? So moved by Mr. Caius, second by Ms. Wonicky. Mr. Caius, would you rise?
Well, actually, if I might, Mr. Chairman, just turn it over to Ms. Allen. I was unable to attend the meeting, so her explanation to me of what was transpired at the meeting was excellent. So if I can, I'll turn it back to Ms.
This is in regard to sound amplification. Would you give us a digest?
With your permission, Mr. Chairman, I think that Mr. Caius thought that this would be something that would occur in all of our districts or have the ability to. Apparently, there's case law against the way we used to measure sound coming from a source. A judge said that measuring 500 feet from a source or from a building was too ambiguous. And the idea is that you might be able to identify a building if you've got like a wedding reception, but if you have a concert where you have amplifiers loaded onto a flatbed, then that could be a moving target, I guess. So here's the suggestion to solve this problem. And we aren't inventing this wheel. Our very thoughtful state's attorney's office gave us Mr. O'Brien, I believe, who found this way of doing it. Let's say that a deputy is called because of noise, sound, and he goes to someone's house. Well, that someone will know where his property line is in relation to where the sound is coming from. So the deputy can go to the property line, count off 75 feet, and then see if he can have a conversation like this one with the complaining witness. If he can, then the sound is not too loud. If he cannot, then he's got a reason to go and ticket, and that would be his evidence in court. So that's the reasoning behind that.
Okay. Mr. Caius, is that sufficient?
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions or comments, discussion? If not, clerk, call the roll.
Ellen? Barrero? Okay. Davist?
Yes.
He's not here. Hanson?
Yes.
Hernandez? Yes. Hoshite?
Yes.
Iqbal?
Yes.
Kenyon?
Yes.
Caius?
Yes.
Copey? Leonard?
Yes.
Lewis?
Yes.
Martin? Molina? Sanchez?
Yes.
Shefflo?
Yes.
Silva?
Yes.
Starrett?
Yes.
Surges?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Weber?
Yes.
Wegman?
Yes.
Wonicky? Passes.
Okay, the motion passes. Next on the agenda, may I have a motion and a second to discuss and approve number 19-256, authorizing execution of collective bargaining agreement with Kane County Employees Emergency Communications, or KaneCom. Do I have motion? So moved by Ms. Allen, second by Mr. Leonard. Any discussion? Questions? Seeing none, clerk, call the roll.
Allen? Barrero?
Yes.
Davist?
Yes.
Hanson?
Yes.
Hernandez? Hoshite?
Yes.
Iqbal?
Yes.
Kenyon?
Yes.
Caius?
Yes.
Copey? Leonard?
Yes.
Lewis?
Yes.
Martin?
Yes.
Molina? Sanchez?
Yes.
Shefflo?
Yes.
Silva?
Yes.
Starrett?
Yes.
Surges? Thomas?
Yes.
Weber?
Yes.
Wegman?
Yes.
Wonicky?
Yes.
That passes.
Okay, motion passes. Okay, let's again defer number 19-257, Chairman Short Program, to at a point when Drew Frost is with us. Appointments next. May I have a motion and a second to approve the Lake Marion River Conservancy District appointee. So moved by Dr. Iqbal, second by Ms. Wonicki. Any thoughts or comments? This is Patsy Shackelford, term expiring July 2023, and Daniel Patterson, term expiring July of 2024. Any discussion? If not, clerk, call the roll.
Ellen? Guerrero?
Yes.
Davist?
Yes.
Hanson?
Yes.
Hernandez?
Yes.
Hoshite?
Yes.
Iqbal?
Yes.
Kenyon?
Yes.
Caius?
Yes.
Copey? Leonard?
Yes.
Lewis? Martin?
Yes.
Molina? Sanchez?
Yes.
Shefflo?
Yes.
Silva?
Yes.
Starrett?
Yes.
Surgis? Thomas?
Yes.
Weber?
Yes.
Wegman?
Yes.
Winicki?
Yes.
That passes.
Okay, motion passes. May I have a motion and a second to pass the recommendations for appointment of members to the DUI Task Force Executive Committee. So moved by Ms. Allen, second by Mr. Surgis. These are voting members, terms expiring July 2021. Sheriff Ron Hain, Chief Jerry Krozik, Deputy Chief Eric Mahan, Chief Phil Smith, Chief David Fisher, Chief Steve Millar, Coroner Rob Russell, Chief Pat Rollins, Chief Steigemeyer, Chief Schlachta, Susan Starrett, John Martin, Monica Silva. Non-voting members with terms expiring July 2021 are Joe Cullen, Pat Del Santo, Barb Jeffers, Tom Hartwell, Christopher Sarkovich. So we have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments? If not, clerk, call the roll.
Ellen? Guerrero?
Yes.
Davist?
Yes.
Raz?
Yes.
Hanson?
Yes.
Hernandez?
Yes.
Hoshite?
Yes.
Iqbal?
Yes.
Kenyon?
Yes.
Caius?
Yes.
Copey? Leonard?
Yes.
Lewis?
Yes.
Martin?
Yes.
Molina?
Yes.
Sanchez?
Yes.
Shefflo?
Yes.
Silva?
Yes.
Starrett?
Yes.
Surgis?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Weber?
Yes.
Wegman?
Yes.
Winicki?
Yes.
Passes.
Okay, motion passes. And then finally, may I have a motion and a second to approve Kane County Zoning Board of Appeals? So moved by Ms. Wonicki, second by Ms. Allen. These are James Planchinski, current member as ZBA chairman, replacing Judge Manuel Barbosa, who's moving on to a commission post, state of Illinois. Bert Natkins, with the term expiring July 2024, and Christopher Berry, term expiring July 2024. Any comments or questions? If not, clerk, call the roll.
Ellen? Guerrero?
Yes.
Davist?
Yes.
Fraz?
Yes.
Hanson?
Yes.
Hernandez?
Yes.
Hoshite?
Yes.
Iqbal?
Yes.
Kenyon?
Yes.
Caius?
Yes.
Copey? Leonard?
Yes.
Lewis?
Yes.
Martin?
Yes.
Molina?
Yes.
Sanchez?
Yes.
Shefflo?
Yes.
Silva?
Yes.
Starrett?
Yes.
Surgis?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Weber?
Yes.
Wegman?
Yes.
Winicki?
Yes.
That passes.
Okay, motion passes. May I have a motion and a second to go into executive session to discuss pending litigation? Clerk, so moved by Ms. Starrett, second by Ms. Wegman. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Ayes have it. So if we could, we're going to go into executive session. So, and I would like to ask Jody Wolnick if you'll remain.
Any different resolution, and I'm not in favor of this resolution because at this point in time, it's my personal belief that we have been heard in Springfield, in the governor's office, in the Illinois Department of Transportation, that our request has contacted our legislators and those other departments enough that we run the risk of making the skin a little tender. And I feel that this resolution will not increase our chances. I think right now we have the best chances that we're going to have of getting as much as we possibly can. We had another resolution to authorize a few of us to acquire signatures on this from our 15 legislators, and we did not get buy-in from many of them, from the majority of them. So that signals to me that us sending a letter of support will be met with the same kind of response in some ways. We already know we support this. Everyone knows. Our request was on the table many times during the discussions for the Capitol bill, and now it is being discussed. There was a meeting last week between the governor's office and IDOT, and I haven't gotten a report back yet on what occurred in that meeting. But from the intelligence I've gathered from talking to many people on this, we have been heard loud and clear. They know we have a request, and I think it would be in our best interest to see what comes of the recent meeting that occurred, and hope that, you know, our project, even though it doesn't fall within the specifications they were truly looking for in the Capitol bill, that we'll hopefully get something from it. But we can't say for sure, and I don't know that this would help us and could in fact work against us. And that is just my opinion based on everything, all the intelligence I've gathered on this issue and talking with people. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sanchez. Are there other thoughts or comments? Ms. Allen.
Can I just ask, I've just noticed around here that if we get a call from a civilian about some matter, if one of my neighbors talks to me about something, we just got through approving riverboat grants, and I got calls for a couple of those. We talked a little bit among ourselves about applying the 3 E's to the riverboat grants and how to spend that money most successfully. It just seems to me that when we reach out to each other, we get additional information and additional impetus to want to move forward on something. So I'm just wondering if this isn't a similar situation where if I put in a call to some of the people in my area, it would be Ms. Muller and Mrs. Castro. I guess they could reject my request, but I would think they would take it a little more seriously. And so that's why I'm wondering if our reaching out to each other is not a good thing, even though that money may have been spent 10 times over. I admit that. But at least if we are reaching out to each other, we're saying we're representing the same people, we're asking for help for our mutual constituents.
Thank you, Ms. Allen. Are there other thoughts or comments? Ms. Sterrett.
Chairman, would it be all right if I didn't stand?
Yes.
Thank you so much, I appreciate it. I just had a quick question. I think that all board members here in Kane County, I think the board members here in Kane County, I think that we're behind obviously receiving as much money as we possibly can. I think that I know our legislative committee over the last 6 years have really worked hard with our legislators. And could I just get a clarification on that, Mr. Sanchez? So I know that we've made the ask. I know that you've mentioned that. I know that there has been some controversy saying that there's not been an ask from our chairman as well. So with this, maybe with him maybe putting his name to this, my question to you is, are you saying that this would be seen as not a positive? I think that, and I apologize, one last portion of this is that the message that Ms. Allen made, I mean, I've worked down in Springfield, and yes, you take the calls and you hear what everyone says and you keep track of it. And, you know, we don't want to make our legislators that are down in Springfield upset, but asking them for more, are you saying that this is going to be seen as a real negative and that they could make a decision that would be negatively impact Kane County because of that? And I apologize, it came and I just wanted you to clarify that. Thank you so much.
Well, right now, it's not in the hands of any of the legislators. It's between the Illinois Department of Transportation and the governor's office. So we didn't get the buy-in that we wanted, and this, I think, would be received. I don't know that it would necessarily hurt us, but it could. We'd run the risk of, we've contacted everybody a lot, and they know we're there. We're in the minds, we're in the conversations. And we didn't get the buy-in from the legislators on the other resolution on the letter, but one of them was responsible for bringing together the meeting that occurred between the governor's office and the Illinois Department of Transportation. So that's something that hasn't happened, and that is because of one of our legislators' support. Even though they didn't sign the other letter, they felt there were other strategies that we can employ. And so that's where we're at right now. Does that answer your question?
So then you're hopefully that we will actually receive some money?
Well, we've been hopeful the whole time. We just don't know. I think all the work that's been put in by staff, by our people, we've done what we can to make sure that our voice is heard, that our request is understood. We try and put it in the most clear context that we can. We are, in their eyes, we are one part of the whole state. So we have to keep that in mind. And there are certain criteria they were specifically looking for in this capital bill. And even though we didn't really fall within those parameters, we were still on the table many times in those discussions. So it wasn't a matter of just plain no the whole time.
Okay. And I do understand that, having been on the legislative committee, and Representative Now Hernandez as well was also on there with me, and then also prior to that, Mr. Brian Pollack as well. So I do understand that. I know that when we went through, maybe it was different, but I know we did have the support of our legislators, so which was very good that we were able to receive the type of money that we needed back at the time. So I know that there's new leadership, but thank you for the clarification. I just wanted to make sure that I heard better. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sterrett. Thank you, Mr. Sanchez. Ms. Thomas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, I'd like to thank Mr. Sanchez and Mr. Hansen for their work on this issue and leading our legislative committee. I came here this morning prepared to vote one way on this, and now I'm not sure. And so I'd like to just ask one final question. First, I'd like to thank our colleague, Ms. Hernandez, who has signed the letter. But given that she is not just a liaison, but somewhat of a superdelegate, if you will, for us in Springfield, I'd like to ask what her sense is in terms of putting this letter forward.
I have another question for the chairman, because I'm trying to figure out why is there two letters. So there's a letter that I signed, but there's now this that includes everybody else. So what's the purpose for two letters?
Actually, let's go in order. There's a question on the table. If you'd respond to that, and then I'd be happy to respond to that question.
To answer your question, I don't want to speak for everybody else, but I can see that a few colleagues will probably take this in a negative way. But it is my duty to represent the people, and I feel like this is something that if the county wants, if the constituents need, I am doing as much as possible, as you heard in the past. So that is one of the things that I'm working on currently. But once again, it could be taken as a negative way towards other representatives and senators.
Okay. So that responds to your question, Ms. Thomas? The answer is not for her, but for others, yes. So it's for her, no, others potentially yes, but doesn't want to speak for other people. So she's spoken for herself, but not for other people.
Well, I suppose she answered, her answer was in alignment with Mr. Sanchez, just without the explanation, so thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Thomas. Thank you, Ms. Hernandez. First of all, I'd like to thank you very much for signing that letter. I certainly believe, and you know from your actions, that we were not asking for too much. And you're right, that you are representing the people who you serve by just saying, yeah, I support it. There are two. We unanimously approved under consent agenda the agreement that authorized any action that we would take to legislators. That's done business. What we're talking about on this one is identical whereases, but the therefore be it resolved that any of us individually can go for additional work. So I've had enough conversations with legislators to thank Ms. Hernandez, and I have to be frank, to be disappointed with other people who didn't put forward that same support, even though it's our #1 priority. I do have a report of where we stand that I'd be happy to go through after we finish in this area. But the reason why it's different is because it goes to a different audience. I think what Mr. Sanchez is referring to is if we keep knocking on the door of the legislators, and at this point, I think I'm past that also. This one basically would go to, for instance, I talked with John Cullerton yesterday, President of the Senate. I called the aide in the governor's office to Kane County to set up a phone call or a visit with the governor directly. Then there was advice from one of our legislators, which I thought was astute, where the person recommended that we go in with certain people as our and legislators or former legislators to go in to talk with specific people in specific departments. And in order to make the maximum impact, it is good for us to then have a document that's similar to the document that we gave to our legislators. I hope it's more persuasive to others than it was to some of those. But again, I appreciate the good judgment that Ms. Hernandez demonstrated by her signing off. Now, you might be referring to 2 letters. Now, I answered 2 resolutions. However, there are 2 letters. There was the 3-sentence letter where it has the statistics of we're 4.5% of the population, but this is asking for 0.1% of the capital bill. You made an edit on yours. You felt that it would be more powerful for us to, more effective for us to just have, we respectfully request that you consider this. And so we're going to go with your draft because it's the common denominator among what everybody signed. So there are 2 letters, there are 2 resolutions, all have different purposes. Because over $45 million, I think that we do everything that we can do. So thank you. Is that responsive? Okay. Other questions on Ms. Sterrett?
Sorry, thank you. I had one last question. It was actually directed to Mr. Faraz, who's the director, the chairman of Transportation Enhancement for many years. And I just wanted to know your input after what they said. Obviously, it's a large program. You're putting together the presentation as well. And after hearing this information, and maybe you've had prior, your thoughts as well, too, please.
We've all been involved in the discussions and calls and so forth to the legislators. I'm going to be voting in favor of this today. I would caution that we have to be careful how it is used. You know, the squeaky wheel gets the oil. The screeching wheel, I guess it should get oil, but it's irritating too. So you're better off, with a gentle reminder and not a bludgeon. So I'm supporting the letter, but I would say that we have to be careful how we use it. I don't want to use it, in retribution to somebody. For example, I talked yesterday to 2 legislators who are pretty far from Longmeadow, and their districts aren't even close to Longmeadow. And their hang-up was, well, if I support Longmeadow, maybe that money is going to be pulled from a big project in my district, and I have to answer to my voters. So it's understandable. I understand I represent part of Kane County, so I should be looking out for Kane County as a whole. But at the same time, there's one legislator up north that I've got no response from, and the bridge runs right through the road runs right through their district. So I'm a little more irritated about that than the one down south. So I think how we use it is very important, but I am going to support it today.
Thank you, Mr. Frost. Ms. Sterrett, sufficient?
Yes, thank
Good.
you very
Okay.
much.
All right, any other thoughts or comments? Ms. Woniecki.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The legislators that don't agree with us at this point aren't going to change their minds, and we just have to move ahead and do what we need to do. We can't worry about what they think. A true public servant will look at that letter and say, do I agree with it or don't I? And you know, they're not going to look at it and say, well, there's Kane County whining again, you know. And I think we should be proud that we're sticking to working on this assignment to try to get some of these funds. So in my mind, it's black and white. We don't worry about what they're thinking. We just hope that they can look at this logically and say, this is a huge project in Kane County. We agree with it, we don't agree with it, and they're going to vote in that manner. Thank you.
Good. Ms. Woniecki, you have the last word. So the clerk will call the roll.
Allen? Aye. Ferrero?
Yes.
Davis?
Yes.
Fries? Yes. Hanson?
Yes.
Hernandez?
Yes.
Hoshite?
Yes.
Iqbal?
Yes.
Kenyon?
Yes.
Caius?
Yes.
Hopi? Leonard?
Yes.
Lewis?
Yes.
Martin?
Yes.
Molina? Sanchez? Shefflow?
Yes.
Silva? Sterrett?
Yes.
Surgis?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Weber?
Yes.
Wegman?
Yes.
Winicky?
Yes.
Passes.
Okay, the motion passes. Okay, we have just two other items on the agenda. One, I would like to, and I'm going to put a stopwatch on myself. I'm going to try to do this in 6 to 8 minutes. I know it's long. Actually, I've got a series of bankers upstairs for an 11:30 meeting. I understand that there are other scheduled appointments right now. So I'm going to try to be as quick as possible. This is an update on where we are on the 45 million. And anybody who would want to also put in like 8 to 10 minutes, just let me know and we'll put you on a schedule where you're talking either at a committee of the whole, an executive committee, or a board meeting. Our job as a good board is to set and maintain high standards, and this is what we are aspiring to. Our consensus objective is to fund all of our county roads and bridges, including Long Meadow Parkway Bridge, without tolls. The circumstances have changed because there's a capital bill. It doubles the tax on the gas, so Blair, if you'd put this on, and then major increases in license fees. In return, what we would like is the opportunity to stop tolls. So let's see. So what we'll give versus what we've got so far, $73 million a year goes out. I understand that $4.5 million in motor fuel tax comes back in, but other than that, we're waiting for what our annual $73 million is going to produce for us parochially. Next slide, please. This is just where it runs through. It is interesting that, and I might be able to give some feedback. Drew, first of all, I'd like to publicly recognize our gratitude and your excellent work on this. As soon as you got the material from the board, you sent it out to the legislators and you started getting signatures back in. So it was excellent work. Thank you very much for everybody who's worked on that. Let's see. I think that you mentioned about McConchie. Have you heard back? Right. That's right. I thought that you were referring. I did talk with him yesterday, and where the two people where it runs through most of the district, we don't have their support on this. Mr. McConchie, or Senator McConchie, called in yesterday and said, no, I'm not going to sign that letter because I'm for the toll. I think that we should have user fees. Okay, I hear you. I don't think that that is what the people in your district want. And if I were in his shoes, I would have taken Ms. Hernandez's action rather than the action that he has. I do appreciate that he returned the telephone call. Ms. Castro, you know, damned if you do, damned if you don't. Was offended that I didn't call her personally. I knew that she was at the briefing meeting when we sent who I think are our best delegates, including you, Mr. Fraz, and Carl Shadle. I did this time at the Metro West meeting present the letter calmly, quietly, and wouldn't accept the letter even to hold it in her hand. Then I put it down on the table and picked it up off the table, crumpled it up, and pushed it across the table. So I don't think she's going to sign it. So let's see. But the toll booth, by the way, is in the northwest corner of the district that she serves. So all these decisions are up to other people. The next slide, please. Okay, so this is where we are on the letters. And again, you know, I'm going to be as grateful as possible for work that has been done and support that has been given. It's positive, half full, not half empty, so I'm going to emphasize the left-hand side of the chart, and then we're going to focus on the future and what we can do rather than in the past. So publicly, again, I'd like to thank Don DeWitt, Jim Oberweis, Dave Severson, Barbara Hernandez, Alan Skillicorn, Daniel Gasty. Experienced experts like all the Cook and Collier County chairmen know that a jointly signed bipartisan letter of support is the most effective way to seek help. So that's people like Cook County President Tony Preckwinkle, expert at what she does, Will County Larry Walsh, DuPage County Dan Cronin, McHenry County Jack Franks, who by the way has been very helpful in this process for us. I'm very grateful. Lake County Sandy, she's new, I don't know her Sandy. And then Kendall County Scott Greider. What we do in action is we sign letters like this and then we send them off. But there are some legislators who agree with us and have signed off, and others, and for those I'm grateful, and others have made the decision that they disagree with the approach, and I accept that. But then the natural question is, what are you doing instead? What is the better approach? And then if they want to share that with us, we'll do the better approach. Do remember, please, that it's $73 million going out, and you know, why should 532,000 taxpayers of Kane County you know, be paying $73 million a year and not getting our number one priority back? So I won't go through what some of the objections were because that's on the letter. And what we want to do is we want to focus on the future. So the final slide. And I'm just at 6 minutes. I'll be finished in 2. This really, sorry it's so small. I'll send it out to board members so they have better. You know, remember the expressions, don't just stand there, do something? Many of us were raised with that. Or anything is better than nothing. It's true. So, on behalf of the board, action in trying to get $45 million and stopping tolls on Parkway that the people who sent some of us here said it's bad enough to have the road, but now to have to pay gas tax and toll, very bad. So hold the window open for 2 more days, give everybody a chance. Please continue your efforts to contact whoever, whether it's legislators or anybody else. You know, of all the people who should be looking for any or all ways to appease voters back home who are now paying twice as much in gas tax, it should be the legislators who voted yes. So take a look at that previous chart to take more money out of our pocket, who should be hurrying to give us something back on that increase. Recognize that each legislator who voted yes, this is a very important item. every legislator who voted yes voted to give themselves in the Capitol bill, whether they read it or not, between $1 million and $4 to $5 million of discretionary pork. Back, they used to call it member initiatives. I think that cleans up, pretty. The least they could do is, help on support. Context is that $4 to $5 million. That's the entire Grand Victoria grant for a year to Kane County. And we have some legislators who will do that on their own discretion. And then fine, legislators don't want, we're going to focus on glass half full. We're going to take Ms. Hernandez's help and we're going to run with it and see if we can get as far as we can get. I'm setting up the meeting and calls directly. So I do regret that that there were some people who wanted to put personal animosity ahead of public duty. I don't think that's the right call. We put all that stuff aside and move forward. So that's what we're going to do, is we're going to move forward. So thank you. That's my short program, and at 8:50. So, okay. Finally, on the agenda today, before we adjourn, 2 items. Do we have an update on the, on the Maxim Glenwood School for Boys item? I know that there have been meetings that have been taking place. Mr. Mann, could you give us an idea of about where we are on that?
There's no real updates. I had a meeting with a lawyer representing the company that I think acquired the interest in the property. They were directed to go through the zoning process through the county, so I don't know whether they have started that process with the county, but I have not met with them or had any additional update from anybody on behalf of either Maxim or a new entity or anybody related to that property. So there's really no new development there.
Okay. I don't know if it's a significant detail or not. It's a sad, tragic detail. But Stephen Marco, the person who was in charge of Maxim, founded Maxim, has died from medical complication, the obituary said. And so he has passed. And then finally, there's a question that does need to be asked publicly, and that's this controversy of the Freedom of Information Act on an allegation of sexual harassment within the state's attorney's office. Would you want to comment?
No.
Okay. Okay. With that, I'd ask, is there a motion to adjourn? So moved by Dr. Iqbal, second by Mr. Davis. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Ayes have it. We're adjourned.